Welcome back to Skytech-Lens Detroit. Once the crown jewel of American industry, now trembles under President Trump's sweeping tariffs. Stellantis, GM and Ford, the legendary Big Three, are battered by skyrocketing costs, shuttered plants, and mass layoffs. The promise of protectionism has unleashed a torrent of unforeseen consequences, leaving financial devastation from Detroit's factory floors to the global stage. What was sold as a revival of American manufacturing has spiraled into crisis, bleeding billions and igniting global backlash. Instead of a renaissance, we're witnessing a retreat. Supply chains are fractured, and the costs are being passed down to workers, communities, and consumers. Stellantis, once Detroit's comeback hero, now stands as a stark emblem of this policy's devastating impact. Here are the dramatic developments reshaping the road ahead. The numbers are staggering. Stellantis reels from a $2.7 billion loss, with tariffs alone costing $347 million. Production at key U.S. plants has halted, leaving factory floors silent and thousands of workers unemployed. CEO Carlos Tavares promises a rebound, but anxiety is everywhere. Tariffs have shattered the cross-border supply chain, forcing Stellantis to rethink its future. The promise of recovery is a beacon of hope, but for now, factories are silent and families wait in uncertainty. The tariff turmoil isn't just battering Stellantis, it's a hurricane hitting all of Detroit. General Motors has slashed profit forecasts, a public admission that the economic landscape has been fundamentally altered. Tariffs on steel and aluminum, plus threats of more duties, have created a perfect storm of financial uncertainty. Ford faces $1.5 billion in tariff-related costs, squeezing profit margins and forcing painful reassessments. Both GM and Ford have resorted to layoffs. The very policy meant to protect jobs is now destroying them. The irony is tragic. In trying to punish foreign competitors, the policy has wounded America's own industrial champions. The cost of everything is up from screws to steel, and automakers face a choice: absorb the costs or pass them to consumers, risking a collapse in sales. The Big Three are diverting billions away from innovation, especially in electric and autonomous vehicles, just to stay afloat. The tariffs have exposed the vulnerability of a business model built on global efficiency. Long-standing supplier relationships are under threat, and the logistical calculus that underpin their operations is obsolete. Wall Street is demanding answers, but the political climate offers no certainty. Stock prices have taken a beating, and executives are forced into damage control. The focus has shifted from growth to survival, a posture no company can maintain for long. The plight of GM and Ford shows this is a systemic crisis, not a single company's misstep. The Big Three, survivors of world wars and recessions, now face one of their greatest challenges yet. The battle is no longer just on the open market, but in the corridors of power in Washington. The future of American automaking hangs in the balance. For over 25 years, the North American auto industry operated as a single, efficient entity under NAFTA. Parts crossed borders multiple times before final assembly in Detroit, a masterpiece of logistics. Then tariffs crashed down, shattering this intricate web overnight. The seamless flow of goods was replaced by customs checks, paperwork, and new taxes. Costs exploded, and the industry's operating model crumbled. Thousands of smaller parts manufacturers, many family-owned, were pushed to the brink. Many couldn't absorb the sudden increase in raw material prices, and were forced to shut down. The collapse of the supply chain triggered layoffs far beyond Detroit. Machinists, logistics coordinators, and tool and die makers all lost jobs. The tariffs, meant as a targeted weapon, became an indiscriminate bomb, causing widespread collateral damage. Automakers scrambled to find new suppliers, a process that's complex, expensive, and slow. The disruption was a massive distraction from the core business of building cars. Relationships with Canada and Mexico, once close allies, were strained, replaced by distrust and resentment. The dream of bringing all manufacturing back to the U.S. proved a fantasy. Forcing disintegration didn't create a stronger industry, it made it weaker and less competitive. The tariffs put the Big Three at a disadvantage against global rivals. The shattering of the North American supply web stands as a stark lesson in unintended consequences. A policy designed with a simplistic view of trade failed to account for the complex reality of modern manufacturing. The result: industrial chaos, not renaissance. The Trump administration's tariffs sparked swift retaliation from America's closest allies. Counter-tariffs hit iconic American products, and the Big Three automakers faced new barriers abroad. The global backlash chilled U.S. auto exports, especially in China. As the US turned inward, the world forged new trade alliances, bypassing America. The result, an increasingly isolated America as the world builds a new economic future without it. With losses mounting and factories silent, Stellantis couldn't wait for politics to change. It had to act. Management launched a bold recovery plan, betting on high-margin vehicles and iconic brands like Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. The strategy: sell cars that command higher prices and excite consumers, even in tough times. New models and tech investments became symbols of defiance, a declaration that Stellantis was still in the fight. Investors saw a glimmer of hope as the company's stock showed signs of life, but the challenges remain. Tariffs still drive up costs, squeezing profit margins and limiting investment in the future. The North American supply chain is still fractured, making sourcing parts complex and expensive. Production schedules are vulnerable to delays, and operational efficiencies are gone. Consumer confidence is shaky. Big-ticket purchases like cars are often postponed in uncertain times. Stellantis is launching its most exciting products into one of the toughest markets in memory. The company is racing against time, betting that the appeal of its vehicles can overpower the negative forces of tariffs. It's a contest between Detroit muscle and the stubborn math of trade policy. The CEO's optimism has boosted morale, but the company is still navigating a minefield. Whether this strategy leads to a legendary comeback or a last stand remains to be seen. The stakes couldn't be higher. As the dust settles, the scale of devastation is clear. Billions lost, plants shuttered, supply chains fractured, and thousands of jobs gone. The promise of revival has given way to an industry in retreat. This is a defining moment for Detroit, a fundamental stress test of its ability to adapt and survive. Tariffs, meant as a shield, have acted as a wrecking ball, smashing decades of integration and planning. The Big Three have abandoned long-term growth for short-term survival, risking their future to global rivals. Yet, Detroit's resilience endures. Stellantis's bold product offensive and painful restructuring at GM and Ford show a refusal to surrender. The fight isn't over. The Big Three are innovating, adapting, and making tough choices. But can survival instincts overcome government-created headwinds? Or is this a slow, self-inflicted collapse? The path forward is uncertain. The damage to relationships and supply chains will take years to repair. The industry is leaner but also wounded and isolated. Boardroom decisions are now tied to political whims, creating toxic unpredictability. This crisis has forced a reckoning, exposing vulnerabilities and the immense cost of trying to unscramble globalization overnight. The road ahead is Detroit's defining lap. The stakes have never been higher. The story of Detroit's struggle is about America itself, our identity, our place in the world, and our future. The final verdict is unwritten, and the world is watching. Detroit's Big Three face a future shaped by political gambles, economic realities, and human consequences. Tariffs meant as a lifeline have become an anchor, dragging down Stellantis, GM, and Ford. Supply chains are in disarray, and the U.S. auto industry is more isolated than ever. Yet the fight for survival continues: bold strategies, iconic vehicles, and a spirit of resilience. The choices made now will echo for generations, shaping America's industrial future. Do you think Stellantis's recovery plan is enough? Are tariffs a defense or a wrecking ball? Which Big Three automaker is best positioned to survive? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe the channel for more updates.